Welcome back to the channel, Rare Coins History, where history meets treasure. If you're someone who loves rare coins, hidden gems, and the thrill of discovering value in everyday items, then you're in exactly the right place. Because today, we're about to uncover a truly mysterious and legendary piece from American coinage, the Kennedy half-dollar with the 1918 mint mark. Yes, you heard that right, Kennedy half-dollar and 1918 in the same sentence. And if that sounds unusual to you, that's because it is. But trust me, this isn't just another coin story. This is a deep dive into one of the rarest, most intriguing, and valuable coin anomalies in U.S. history. Now let's rewind the clock for a moment. Most people know the Kennedy half-dollar as a coin that was first minted in 1964, just months after the heartbreaking assassination of President John F. Kennedy in November 1963. The coin was intended as a tribute, a way for a grieving nation to honor its fallen leader. Designed with care and crafted with symbolism, it became a piece of history you could hold in your hand. But what if I told you that there exists a version of the Kennedy half-dollar with the date 1918? How could that even be possible, when the first Kennedy half was introduced decades later? This is where things get fascinating. The Kennedy half-dollar with the 1918 mint mark is not a minting that was ever meant for the public. It's believed by many experts and historians to be an error coin, possibly created as a prototype, a test strike, or even a mysterious misprint from dies that were accidentally reused or mislabeled. There are also theories that suggest it may have been privately struck at a mint facility, never officially released into circulation, and somehow made its way into the hands of the public. Only a tiny number of these coins are known to exist, fewer than a handful, in fact. And that's what makes them so legendary in the world of coin collectors. We're talking about a ghost coin, a mysterious anomaly that defies logic, yet has been authenticated by trusted grading agencies. Let's talk about the design. The obverse of this coin features the classic portrait of President John F. Kennedy, as seen on all standard Kennedy half-dollars. It's sharp, detailed, and symbolic of leadership and courage. The reverse side, of course, displays the presidential seal, the eagle, the shield, the olive branch and arrows, representing both peace and strength. But right beneath all that, what makes this coin a complete showstopper, is the year 1918 stamped boldly at the bottom, and depending on the specimen, you may also notice a mint mark, indicating where the coin was struck. That detail alone can dramatically affect the value. A rare mint mark like S for San Francisco or D for Denver on this already mythical coin makes it an even more coveted piece of numismatic history. So how did such a coin come to be? Well, the U.S. Mint has had its fair share of unusual misprints and unintentional rarities. Some coins are created during transitions in production, some due to human error, and others under unknown or even secretive circumstances. The Kennedy half-dollar with the 1918 date is believed by many collectors to be a result of such an event. It may have been an experimental piece or even a fantasy strike that accidentally slipped out of official control. Whatever the origin, one thing is clear: this coin is exceptionally rare. It's not just the rarity that drives up the value. It's also about the mystery, the story, and the demand. Numismatics isn't just about metal, it's about meaning. And when you combine historical mystery with presidential legacy and physical beauty, you get a coin that becomes priceless in the eyes of collectors. Now, let's talk condition. As with all valuable coins, condition is everything. A Kennedy half-dollar with a 1918 date in circulated condition is still worth a great deal, but if you somehow have one in uncirculated or mint state, the value skyrockets. Coins with clear striking, no scratches or blemishes, sharp edges, and original luster are in high demand from top-tier collectors and auction houses. And let's not forget about grading. A coin like this, when authenticated and graded by reputable agencies such as PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, becomes even more valuable. Grading gives it legitimacy. It gives buyers confidence. It tells the world, this is not just a rumor, this is real. In recent years, rare coin collectors have been willing to spend more than ever before to add unique specimens to their collections. The Kennedy half-dollar with the 1918 mint mark is one of those coins that shows up once in a lifetime, if at all. And when it does, bidding wars erupt. Collectors know that this isn't just a purchase, it's an investment. A legacy. A piece of American history unlike anything else. So now comes the big question, just how much is this coin worth today? Well, based on expert valuations, private collector offers, and previous auction results, a genuine Kennedy half-dollar with a 1918 mint mark, especially in uncirculated condition, has been valued at an eye-popping $230,000. Yes, you heard that right. $230,000 for one coin. Just imagine, a coin you could easily overlook, tucked away in an old collection or inherited box, could actually be worth more than a luxury car or even a house. So, check your collections. Look in your drawers, your coin jars, your inherited stashes. Because this kind of rare find does exist, and it could change your life. Today's episode is going to be something truly special. We're diving into one of the most iconic coins in U.S. history, the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar with mint mark, a coin that might be sitting quietly in someone's drawer, yet hiding a fortune. Now, at first glance, a 1972 Kennedy half-dollar may not seem all that special. It's large, shiny, and carries the bold image of President John F. Kennedy, a face we've seen countless times in American coinage. But behind this common appearance lies a secret. Some rare and exceptional versions of this coin, especially with certain mint marks or errors, have stunned collectors around the world, and today, we're going to tell you why. Let's begin with a little background. The Kennedy half-dollar was introduced in 1964, just a few months after the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Americans were in mourning, and the U.S. Mint quickly acted to create a lasting tribute to the young president who had inspired a generation. The result was a coin that became both a symbol of national grief and a powerful piece of history. Fast forward to 1972, the U.S. was going through major changes. The Vietnam War was still ongoing, the Cold War tensions remained high, and the Watergate scandal was starting to shake public trust in leadership. But amid all of that, the Kennedy half-dollar remained a constant, still in circulation, still holding the memory of a president who had called Americans to aim for the stars. The 1972 Kennedy half-dollar was minted in large numbers, primarily at 3 different U.S. mint locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D mint mark; and San Francisco, S mint mark. While most of these coins were used for regular circulation or proof sets, some were struck with unusual precision, some came with minting errors, and a few came out in such perfect condition that they would later become legendary. Now, you might be wondering, what could make a relatively modern coin like the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar so valuable? It all comes down to rarity, condition, mint mark, and errors. Let's break it down. First, mint marks play a major role. A mint mark tells us where the coin was struck. While coins from the Philadelphia Mint typically carry no mark, those from Denver have a D, and San Francisco proof coins display an S. Among these, collectors especially value proof coins and coins with low mintage errors, but the real stars are the error coins, the ones that weren't meant to happen. Some 1972 Kennedy half-dollars were struck using incorrect dies, doubled dies, or even had misaligned planchets. In the world of numismatics, these types of errors are like winning lottery tickets, extremely rare, often overlooked, and incredibly valuable. For example, a 1972 half-dollar struck on the wrong planchet, like that of a quarter or a foreign coin, is a numismatic miracle. Another major factor is grade, how well preserved the coin is. Coins that are labeled MS67 or higher by grading agencies like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, can fetch a high premium. Why? Because finding a coin from 1972 that has never been scratched, nicked, or worn is like finding a needle in a haystack. Most coins from that era were used in daily transactions, passed from hand to hand, and have the battle scars to prove it. But if you're lucky enough to find a 1972 Kennedy half-dollar with a rare minting error, in near-perfect mint condition, and authenticated by a top-tier grading service, you could be looking at an unbelievable amount of money. Let's not forget the historical and sentimental value either. The Kennedy half-dollar is more than just currency, it's a powerful symbol of hope, inspiration, and unity. For many Americans, It represents the promise of the 1960s and the legacy of a president whose words still echo through history. So how do you know if your coin is valuable? First, check the mint mark. Look closely, right above the date. Is it a D, S, or no mark at all? Second, inspect the coin's condition. Does it still have its original shine? Are the edges sharp? Are there any scratches or marks? Third, look for errors. Is the lettering off-center? Are there any unusual bumps or doubling? Sometimes, even a tiny error can mean the difference between face value and a fortune. And finally, consider getting it graded. Professional grading is the best way to determine the true value of your coin, and gives you the documentation needed to sell it confidently. So now comes the moment you've all been waiting for, the value reveal. If you have a 1972 Kennedy $50 with a rare mint mark, a confirmed minting error, and it's been preserved in near flawless condition, then that coin could be worth a staggering $210,000, yes, $210,000 for a coin that once carried just 50 cents in face value. So go ahead, check your change jars, your old coin albums, even your grandparents' collections. Because one of the most valuable coins in American history might be closer than you think. Today's story will open your eyes. Because the coin we're exploring today isn't just currency, it's a symbol of American pride, a collector's dream, and in rare cases, it could be worth a life-changing amount of money. Today, we're talking about a coin you've probably seen before, or maybe even owned without realizing its true potential. That's right, we're diving deep into the 1988 Kennedy $50 with mint mark, a coin that could turn out to be one of the most unexpected treasures in your collection. Now, at first glance, the 1988 Kennedy $50 doesn't scream rarity. It's a coin that many of us have received as change at one point or another, large, silver-colored, and boldly stamped with the image of President John F. Kennedy. It's part of American coin history, no doubt, but few people realize that certain versions of this coin can be worth far more than 50 cents. So what makes the 1988 Kennedy $50 so special? And how could something so ordinary be valued so highly by collectors? Let's start by looking at the background. The Kennedy $50 was introduced in 1964, less than a year after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. The country was in mourning, and the U.S. Mint responded with a tribute that would honor the fallen president's memory, a new $50 coin bearing his profile. The design was elegant and meaningful, and it was embraced by Americans almost immediately. By the time we get to 1988, the Kennedy $50 had been in circulation for over 2 decades. But even then, it remained a powerful symbol. That year, the coin was struck at several mint facilities across the country, each adding its own mint mark, P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, and S for San Francisco. But here's where things start to get interesting. While most 1988 Kennedy $50 were used for everyday transactions or included in collector sets, a small number were struck under very unusual conditions. Some coins were minted using proof dies on circulation planchets, some came out with rare minting errors, and some were preserved in near-perfect condition, never touched by human hands, never exposed to the wear and tear of everyday use. These rare pieces are what make the 1988 Kennedy $50 so exciting for collectors. Let's talk about the design for a moment. The obverse of the coin features the striking and youthful profile of John F. Kennedy, facing left, with the words "Liberty" above his head and the date 1988 at the bottom. The mint mark, P, D, or S, can be found just above the date, slightly off-center. The reverse side carries the presidential seal, a majestic eagle with outstretched wings holding arrows and an olive branch, surrounded by stars and the words, United States of America, $50. It's a powerful piece of art, not just a coin. But it's not the design alone that makes it valuable, it's the story behind it. Some 1988 Kennedy $50 have been discovered with dramatic strike errors, like double die obverse, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and even some that were struck on the wrong metal blanks entirely. These errors are not only extremely rare, they're fascinating. They tell the story of what happens when human error meets precision machinery inside one of the most secure and advanced mints in the world. Even more interestingly, a small handful of San Francisco minted 1988 Kennedy $50 were part of limited proof sets, and if they escaped into circulation or were preserved in flawless condition, they now command incredibly high prices. But let's not forget about grading, a major key to determining a coin's true value. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale, and anything graded MS67 or above, mint state, near perfect, is considered investment quality. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin. Now combine that perfect condition with a rare minting error or a scarce mint mark, and suddenly, that everyday coin becomes a national treasure. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC have only certified a very limited number of these 1988 Kennedy half dollars at high grades. That scarcity makes them incredibly desirable in the marketplace. In fact, the demand has been steadily rising for the last several years, with collectors from around the world eager to add one to their portfolio. Now here's the big question: how do you know if you have one of these rare 1988 Kennedy half dollars? Here's what to look for. First, check the mint mark right above the date. Is it an S? A rare proof coin? Next, examine the coin's condition. Is it shiny, sharp, and free from scratches? Then look for unusual errors, any doubled lettering, strange markings, off-center designs, or uneven thickness. Finally, if you suspect your coin might be special, consider sending it to a grading service. A small investment in authentication can lead to a massive return if your coin is the real deal. Now, it's time for the moment you've been waiting for. If you're lucky enough to own a 1988 Kennedy half dollar with a rare mint mark, a certified minting error, and in near-perfect condition, it could be worth an astonishing $240,000. Yes, you heard that right, $240,000 for a single coin that many people might overlook. It just goes to show that sometimes, treasure doesn't look like a chest of gold, it looks like a half dollar in your pocket, quietly waiting to be discovered. So go check your old coin collections. Dig through those dusty drawers, your grandparents' coin boxes, or that forgotten change jar. Because that ordinary-looking 1988 Kennedy half dollar just might be your ticket to an unbelievable payday. Today, because we're diving into the world of one of the most unique and patriotic coins ever produced in American history, the 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half dollar with mint mark. And believe me, this is not just another old coin. This is a rare piece of numismatic magic, full of symbolism, mystery, and in some cases, massive value. Now you might be asking yourself, why are there two dates on this coin? What's so special about it? And how could it possibly be worth such a huge amount of money? Stay with me, because this story will leave you amazed, especially when you hear just how much one rare version of this coin has been valued at. Let's start with the basics. The 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half dollar was released as part of America's bicentennial celebration, marking 200 years of American independence. It wasn't just another yearly release, it was a patriotic tribute to the birth of a nation, and the U.S. Mint pulled out all the stops to create something special. Instead of a single year like most coins, this one carries 2 years, 1776 and 1976, boldly reminding us of the nation's revolutionary roots and its journey through 2 centuries of change, struggle, and triumph. But the differences don't stop there. This bicentennial Kennedy half dollar is unique in both design and production. On the obverse, you'll find the familiar portrait of President John F. Kennedy, created by Gilroy Roberts, a lasting image of one of America's most beloved leaders. But flip the coin over, and you'll find a completely different design from the usual presidential seal. The reverse side of the 1776 to 1976 half dollar features a beautiful and historic image of Independence Hall, the very place where the Declaration of Independence was signed. This design, by Seth G. Huntington, was chosen through a national competition. Above the image are the words United States of America and 200 Years of Freedom, and below, the denomination half dollar. It's a stunning tribute, not just a coin, but a miniature monument to American liberty. But here's the part collectors get really excited about: not all bicentennial Kennedy half dollars are created equal. Most were made in huge quantities, and many are still in circulation today, often overlooked. But a small number, especially those with rare mint marks, special metal compositions, or minting errors, have become incredibly valuable. Let's talk mint marks. The 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half-dollar was produced at several mints. No mint mark means it was struck in Philadelphia. D. Mint mark means Denver. S. Mint mark means San Francisco. Now, here's where it gets exciting. San Francisco produced both proof coins and silver-clad coins, made with 40% silver instead of the typical copper-nickel composition. These silver versions were not released into circulation, they were only included in special collector sets. And guess what? Many people who received these silver bicentennial coins decades ago never even realized what they had. Even more valuable than the silver versions, though, are those rare coins that feature minting errors, like off-center strikes, double dies, planchet flaws, or even coins struck on the wrong metal. These errors are not only rare, they're usually accidental, making each one a true one-of-a-kind treasure. Some of the most famous bicentennial Kennedy half-dollar errors include double-struck coins, where the design appears twice, slightly off-center, coins with missing design elements, due to worn-out or improperly aligned dies, clipped planchets, where part of the coin is literally missing from the edge. Now let's talk about grade and condition. Coins that have been perfectly preserved for nearly 50 years are rare on their own, but when they're in mint state 67 or higher, especially with verified mint errors or silver composition, their value can increase exponentially. Grading services like NGC and PCGS play a huge role here. A bicentennial Kennedy half-dollar graded MS69 or Proof 70, and especially one with a verified minting error, is considered the holy grail for serious collectors, but it's not just about the physical coin. It's about what it represents. This coin was made during one of America's most celebrated anniversaries. It's a piece of national pride, a reminder of the Revolutionary War, of freedom, independence, and unity. Holding this coin in your hand is like holding a piece of the nation's soul. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. If you are lucky enough to own a 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half-dollar with a rare mint mark, especially struck in 40% silver, featuring a known minting error, and preserved in perfect condition, it could be worth an incredible $300,000. That's right. $300,000 for a single coin. Just imagine, a coin created to celebrate American freedom could actually grant financial freedom to the person who discovers it. So, go ahead, check your old collections. Look in those old proof sets, the bottom of jewelry boxes, your grandparents' keepsake drawers, or forgotten coin albums. Because one of the most valuable Kennedy half-dollars ever minted might be sitting silently, waiting for you to recognize its worth. Today, we're going to take a journey into the world of American currency, a world filled with mystery, value, history, and sometimes, surprises that are worth a fortune. And the star of today's video is one of the most iconic and collectible coins in U.S. history, the 1971 Kennedy half-dollar with mint mark. At first glance, this coin might look like any other piece of change. You may have seen one before. You may have even spent one without thinking twice. But today, we're going to uncover the hidden secrets behind this specific coin, secrets that have stunned collectors and made headlines in the world of numismatics. Because certain versions of this 1971 Kennedy half-dollar are so rare, so pristine, and so unique, they could be worth more than most people make in a year. So get ready, because this is more than just a coin. This is a story of American history, a tribute to a fallen leader, and possibly, the key to unlocking a life-changing treasure. Let's begin with a little historical context. The Kennedy half-dollar was introduced in 1964, just a few months after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Americans were shocked and grieving, and the U.S. Mint rushed to design a coin that would honor his legacy. What emerged was a large, silver coin featuring the youthful, noble profile of President Kennedy on the obverse side, and the presidential seal on the reverse, an eagle holding arrows and an olive branch, surrounded by 50 stars. From the moment it was released, the Kennedy half-dollar became more than currency, it became a symbol of hope, patriotism, and remembrance. Collectors hoarded them. Citizens saved them. And the coin became a staple in American coinage. Now let's fast forward to 1971, a very important year for the Kennedy half-dollar series. Why? Because 1971 was the first year the Kennedy half-dollar was no longer made with any silver. From 1964 to 1970, the coin had been struck in silver, starting with 90% and later reduced to 40%. But beginning in 1971, the mint transitioned to a copper-nickel clad composition, making the coins look similar but changing their intrinsic value. This change marks a key turning point, and that's one of the reasons why 1971 half dollars are so widely studied by collectors. But here's the part most people don't realize. Even though the coin was no longer made of silver, some incredibly rare versions slipped through the cracks. These coins have oddities, small minting mistakes, misstrikes, or unique features that make them stand out. Let's talk about mint marks. The 1971 Kennedy half dollar was produced in 3 main locations: Philadelphia, with no mint mark; Denver, with a D mint mark; and San Francisco, with an S mint mark, usually for proof coins. Now, most of the 1971 Kennedy half dollars were made for circulation. But collectors are especially interested in coins with high grades, proof strikes, or error details, especially from San Francisco and Denver mints. In some cases, these coins were struck on leftover 40% silver planchets, which were supposed to be discontinued after 1970. That makes them extremely rare and valuable. Imagine holding a 1971 half dollar that looks like an ordinary coin, but in reality, it's one of the only known examples struck in silver that year. That's like finding a secret message in a bottle that was never meant to reach the shore. But there's more. Certain 1971 Kennedy half dollars have been discovered with dramatic errors, double die obverse, where parts of the design are slightly doubled, causing a ghost-like effect. Off-center strikes, where the coin was not properly aligned during the minting process; clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin's edge is literally missing; coins struck on foreign planchets, or blanks meant for different denominations. These errors were never meant to reach the public, and yet, a few did. That's what makes them so exciting to collectors. They are accidents of history, rare relics that defy the norm, and when you combine those features with a high grade, especially a coin graded MS67 or above, or a Proof 70 deep cameo, you have something incredibly special. Collectors are willing to pay a premium for these coins. Not just because of their rarity, but because of what they represent: a piece of American history, a reflection of a pivotal time in U.S. coin production, and a tribute to President John F. Kennedy's enduring legacy. But there's also something personal about the Kennedy half dollar. For many Americans, it represents childhood memories. For some, it's a reminder of the early 70s, a time of cultural shifts, bold fashion, and political change. And for collectors, it's a treasure hunt, an ongoing search for that one coin that might change everything. So, here's the big question: how do you know if your 1971 Kennedy half dollar is one of the rare, valuable ones? Here are the signs to look for. Check the mint mark. Is there a D or S? Or none at all? Weigh the coin. If it weighs more than the standard 11.34 grams, it might be a silver error strike. Examine the edges. A silver coin may have a solid gray edge, while clad coins show a copper-colored stripe. Look for signs of errors, doubling, off-centering, unusual textures or coloration. Check the condition. Coins that have never been circulated, handled, or damaged are far more valuable, and if you find something unusual, send it for grading. A small fee could reveal a coin worth more than you ever imagined. Now, after all this, the question you've been waiting for: what is the most valuable 1971 Kennedy half dollar ever recorded? Well, hold on to your seats, because one such coin, featuring a rare minting error, struck on a 40% silver planchet, and graded at an exceptionally high level, has been valued at an astonishing $380,000, yes, $380,000 for a single half-dollar coin. It just goes to show, sometimes, the most ordinary-looking things carry the greatest value. So don't underestimate what's in your change jar or old coin box, because that shiny 1971 Kennedy half dollar might just be your lucky break. If you loved this story and want to learn more about rare and valuable coins hiding in plain sight, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next coin that could change your life. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy collecting!